Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Savannah Chrisley reacts to Trump's pardon of her parents after pushing for their release for years. President Donald Trump's decision this week to pardon reality show stars Todd and Julie Chrisley of fraud and tax evasion brought excitement and relief to their adult children, including daughter Savannah Chrisley, who had lobbied for their release via social media, a podcast, and a Republican National Convention speech. The president issued full pardons on Wednesday for the couple, whose show, Chrisley Knows Best, followed the lavish lifestyle of real estate mogul Todd Chrisley and his family. The couple were convicted in 2022 of defrauding banks of tens of millions of dollars and of hiding earnings from tax authorities. Prosecutors said the crimes helped boost the Chrisleys' extravagant, expensive lifestyle that they displayed on their show, including luxury cars and travel. Todd Chrisley was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison, while Julie Chrisley was sentenced to 7 years. They were also ordered to pay $17.8 million in restitution. It's a terrible thing, but it's a great thing, because your parents are going to be free and clean, and I hope we can do it by tomorrow. Is that okay? We'll try getting it done tomorrow, Trump said Tuesday in a phone call with their daughter. I don't know them, but give them my regards and wish them a good life. The 27-year-old has been advocating on behalf of her parents for the past few years, relying on social media as well as her Unlocked podcast to bring awareness to their imprisonment and to voice support for Trump. She described her parents as victims of political persecution while speaking at last year's Republican National Convention, and discussed the possibility of a presidential pardon while having lunch at the White House in February. Let me make one thing crystal clear. I didn't have to sell my soul. I stood on truth, persistence, and God's favor, she said in a Wednesday statement. I fought a broken, weaponized system with everything I had, and I won. The couple's son, 28-year-old Chase Chrisley, told the New York Post that he's grateful to God and extremely grateful to President Trump and his entire administration. Kyle Chrisley, Todd's estranged son from his first marriage, told E! News that he was ecstatic to hear about the pardons. Truly, the 33-year-old said, I just found out a little bit ago, and I still just can't believe it. The Chrisleys are the latest in Trump's pardon streak for high-profile supporters, including disgraced former Illinois Gov. Rod Blagojevich, former Las Vegas City Council member Michelle Fiore, former Virginia Sheriff Scott Jenkins, and of course, hundreds of followers who violently stormed the Capitol on January 6, 2021, to keep Trump in power. Trump is also a failed businessman with his own criminal history. A jury found him guilty last year on all 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree in relation to his hush money payment to porn star Stormy Daniels. He was charged in 2023 with taking classified documents from the White House and keeping them in Mar-a-Lago, though a Trump-appointed judge dismissed the case last year. Trump also faced charges last year over efforts to subvert the 2020 election and the peaceful transfer of power, but special counsel fought a battle that seemed nearly impossible, a mission not just to clear her family's name in the court of public opinion, but to bring her parents, Todd and Julie Chrisley, back home where they belonged. Her relentless quest to free her parents from federal prison seemed a distant dream. Nevertheless, she pressed forward with a combination of fierce loyalty, legal expertise, and pure love. Now, after countless phone calls, numerous legal filings, and a powerful media campaign, the moment she fought for has arrived. President Donald Trump has granted a pardon to Todd and Julie Chrisley, a dramatic twist in their ongoing legal saga. And for Savannah, this isn't just a legal decision. It's the fulfillment of a lifelong vow. The emotional phone call that started it all. The moment Savannah received the phone call from her legal team, confirming the president's pardon, she fell silent in disbelief. There were no dramatic cheers immediately. Instead, there was a pause, a moment to absorb the magnitude of what had just happened. It felt like a heavy blanket lifting off our family's future. All the years of injustice, all the nights we cried and hoped and fought, it all came down to this phone call. Savannah described feeling freer and lighter immediately afterwards, not just for herself, but for her whole family. The Chrisleys had become a symbol, for some, a rich family gone awry. For others, a family persecuted by a flawed justice system. Whatever side you fell on, this phone call meant a dramatic change in their narrative, turning pain into action. For years, Savannah transformed her private pain into a very public mission. She turned her social media platforms into a powerful voice for her family, organizing campaigns, gathering legal advocates, and shedding light on what she believed were unfair practices in her parents' trial. Using her nearly 3 million Instagram following, Savannah called for fairness, due process, and compassion. She made numerous television appearances, met with lawmakers, and teamed up with advocates who believed in her cause. It wasn't about celebrity, it wasn't about privilege, it was about justice. It was about a family unfairly divided by a legal ruling we believed was flawed from the outset. Behind closed doors, a daughter's fear and faith. Behind closed doors, away from the cameras and the journalists, there were nights when Savannah fell to her knees in her bedroom and cried. There were moments when the fear seemed overwhelming. The fear that her parents might serve years in federal prison. The fear that her young relatives, Chloe and Grayson, would grow up without their loving guidance. It was in those moments that I turned to God more than I ever had in my life. I prayed for a path forward, for peace, for understanding, and for a miracle. Savannah's faith, much like her resolve, remained unshaken. She frequently turned to scripture and messages from her community to find peace and hope during the worst days. The Trump connection, making her case to the White House. Savannah's persistence eventually opened doors. Through a combination of legal advocates and political allies, her pleas made their way to the White House. President Trump, a longtime friend of the Chrisley family and a public supporter of fairness and justice, was presented with their story, the controversy surrounding their trial, the questions about procedural fairness, and the impact their incarceration was having on their children and grandchildren. President Trump listened. He asked questions, challenged the narrative presented by the Department of Justice, and demanded a deep review of the case. This unprecedented intervention from the president was a turning point, a moment when years of agony started to lift. The pardon was not just a legal formality. It was a dramatic affirmation that fairness matters, and that powerful people can sometimes right a legal wrong. Savannah's emotional appeal to supporters. In a video message addressing her fans and supporters, Savannah fought back tears as she explained what the pardon meant to her. For years, we fought. We fought against a narrative that labeled us as something we're not. We fought against a legal system that seemed to ignore fairness and compassion. Today, all that battling has meant something. She went on to express deep appreciation to everyone who supported her. From ordinary fans to journalists who investigated the trial, lawyers who challenged the ruling, and lawmakers who raised their voices in her parents' defense. It wasn't me, it was all of us. We stood together, we demanded justice, and today we won. Looking forward, a future reunited. With the pardon, the Chrisley family can now look forward to rebuilding their future together. There will be many legal formalities to resolve, release dates, paperwork, and conditions, but for the first time in years,